Have you ever heard of the deadliest circuit ever in Formula 1? And do you know why it's the most lethal Formula 1 track of all time? And how many Formula 1 drivers have been murdered on it? If not, this will shock you to the bone. This is the deadliest circuit ever gracing Formula 1 history, Nürburgring Nordschleife. Dubbed the Green Hell, this was literally a death trap. It's where legends were either born or murdered. Drivers treated it as some kind of suicide mission. So, why was this super dangerous circuit banned from Formula 1 forever? Historical background. Let's go back to where it all started, 1923. That's right, after World War I. Germany was in ruins and needed something to get that economy going. Guess what did they do? They built a racetrack. It was the Nürburgring, carved into the freaking Eiffel Mountains. It was ready by 1927 and had 3 loops: Südschleife, Start, Zielschleife, and the king of them all, Nordschleife. Nordschleife was a merciless beast of 14.17 kilometers, cutting through forests and hills. This place was probably aiming at mockery with safety. It was a pure endurance test for both the drivers and the machine. The early years had grown into a financial and racial mess, and then the 1930s struck like a sledgehammer, taking along the Great Depression at a time when the Nürburgring itself was in such a desperate struggle to stay afloat. Then World War II reared its ugly head, and there was silence at the place. The early years. By the 1930s, racing at the Nürburgring was still a damn circus. The world was grappling with the Great Depression. And for money, well, good luck with that. Racing wasn't exactly a priority when people could barely afford to eat. The Nürburgring was limping through this period, but hey, it somehow survived. Then came World War II. Racing hit the brakes. Everything went dark until 1947, when they finally started revving engines again. And can you even guess what? By 1950, we'd already lost 11 drivers. Imagine that, 11 lives were gone before the track even warmed up. And the worst part is that this was just the beginning. Back in these days, safety? What's that? Helmets were optional, seatbelts were a joke, and barriers, they were more like decoration than protection. Drivers were playing Russian roulette every time they hit the tracks, and on our Nürburgring was like stepping into a damn war zone. It was the survival of the fittest, and if you couldn't hack it, well, you didn't make it out alive. Simple as that. The deadly decades. And the deadly decades, the 50s, 60s and 70s, is what we really can't miss. This was when the Nürburgring earned its freaking Green Hell title. Between 1951 and 1975, the German Grand Prix was held here a staggering 22 times. And guess where most of that carnage happened? You already guessed it, the Nordschleife. The place was basically a cemetery for race cars and drivers. In 1960, they tried to mix it up with a race on the Südschleife. It sounds cute, right? Yeah, but that didn't last. The Nordschleife was the main event where the real danger was, and man, that's exactly what people came for. Fast forward to 1963 and things got even uglier. Race official G. Schneider was killed during a race, reinforcing just how unforgiving this place was. Can you even think about it? 11 deaths by 1950 were already insane, but that body count, sadly, it kept climbing. Year after year, drivers were crashing out, although some were lucky enough to walk away, others were not so much. The Nürburgring wasn't just dangerous, it was basically like a blood sport. The drivers were risking their lives for every damn lap. But hey, this track was designed to kill, so yeah, it didn't disappoint, right? Why so dangerous? I know what's on your mind now. What made this track so deadly? Well, let me start with the insane elevation changes. Believe it or not, we're talking 300 meters of vertical madness, where cars literally caught air. Yeah, airborne, while hitting speeds of 200 miles per hour. I mean, what could possibly go wrong, right? You got the foxhole section, which sounds cool until you realise it's 5 brutal corners in a row, followed by a nasty drop and climb. The G-forces alone made drivers feel like they were in a damn washing machine. And if you didn't lose your head there, the flanks garden section with 170 blind corners would do the job. It was like racing through a maze where every turn was a potential death sentence. Now, we can't miss to talk about safety, or let's say the complete lack of it. Back in the day, safety barriers, runoff areas, Oh man, what a joke. The track was basically a glorified road with a little sprinkle of danger. Corners like the infamous Kesselchen, with its tricky late apex, caught drivers off guard every time. You didn't need a mistake to crash here. The track was ready to do it for you. The Nürburgring was a damn death wish, and if you messed up, I'd say you were lucky if you survived. The turning point. By 1970, the shit finally hit the fan. Pierre Courage crashed at Sanford, and it wasn't just any crash, he died in a freaking fireball. That was the last straw for the drivers. They had enough of playing Russian roulette with their lives in this death trap. So the drivers banded together and demanded changes, saying either you make this track safer or we're done racing here. And for once, Formula 1, well, it did actually listen this time. In 1971, they threw up some safety barriers, fences and emergency lanes. But let's be real, did it make much of a difference? No, the track was still a menace. Sure, they slapped on a band-aid, but it didn't change the fact that Nürburgring was still hungry for destruction. The danger wasn't going anywhere, they just made it look a little prettier. The infamous crash of 1976. And then came 1976, the crash that sealed the Nürburgring's fate. Niki Lauda, one of the greatest drivers in Formula 1 history, was nearly burned alive at this god-forsaken track. His Ferrari exploded into flames at Bergwerk, and he was trapped in the car while it roasted. The man suffered third-degree burns and inhaled toxic fumes, and he still lived. That was probably to tell the tale. Lauda, well, I'd say he was indestructible. But now, that crash was the final nail in the coffin for the Nordschleife. Lauda himself said the track was too dangerous, and after his near-death experience, Formula 1 had no choice but to pull the plug on racing there. The Nürburgring had claimed its last F1 victim. Lauda's crash wasn't just a warning, it was a wake-up call for everyone. The aftermath. After Lauda's crash, Formula 1 officially washed its hands of the Nordschleife. But did that stop the carnage? Oh hell no. Other motorsports kept using the track, and surprise, surprise, people kept dying. No F1 deaths, sure, but Nürburgring was still out here collecting bodies like it was nothing. In 1999, shit got real again at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. German driver Sabine Schmitz, who's basically a legend of this track, ended up in a horrific crash. A BMW M3 slammed into a barrier and burst into flames. Schmitz, being the badass she is, survived the hellish ordeal, but it was another brutal reminder that the Nürburgring doesn't mess around. Even with all the advances and safety measures, this track has a nasty habit of throwing punches that reminds you why it earned its infamous reputation. In 2015, tragedy struck again when a spectator, Andy Germ, was killed during a wild accident. A car launched off the track, flew into the crowd and took his life. That's the thing with the Nürburgring. Just when you think it's safe, it again reminds you how deadly it really is. And it wasn't just the drivers. Officials, marshals and spectators were all part of the grisly tally. Each year, as the track claimed more lives, it became clear that no one was immune to its danger. Even without F1, the track never lost its taste for blood. The green hell stayed true to its name, always lurking, always waiting for its next victim. By 1984, they finally gave in and built a newer, safer Nürburgring. What a relief, right? The GB Streck opened, and F1 moved there, leaving the Nordschleife in its rearview mirror. It was like the sport said, alright, enough of that death trap. Then, in 1985, the German Grand Prix packed its bags and shifted to Hockenheim for good. Nürburgring's brutal legend became just that, a memory. But make no mistake, even though F1 ditched it, the shadow of the Nordschleife still loomed large over motorsport. You just don't forget a place like that. The new era. If we fast forward to the modern era, just when you're thinking the Nürburgring is a relic of the past, Formula 1 decides to throw it a bone. Guess what? In 1996, they brought it back, but not the Nordschleife, obviously. Just a tame new version. From 96 to 06, it made brief appearances under different names, and for a moment you thought maybe the Nürburgring still got it. But let's be honest, it wasn't the same beast anymore. In 2007, it hosted the German Grand Prix again, but even then, it felt like the Nürburgring was on borrowed time. F1 was evolving, moving towards glitzier, more sanitized circuits. By 2020, the Nürburgring returned as the venue for the Eiffel Grand Prix, kind of a nostalgic nod to its glory days. And you know who added a little spice to that? Lewis Hamilton, tying Schumacher's win record right there. A full circle moment for a track that's seen it all, from burning wrecks to the now record-breaking triumphs. But here's the kicker. despite its occasional comebacks, the Nürburgring is struggling to stay relevant. Financial problems, logistical nightmares, and the rise of shiny new tracks in the US and the Middle East have pushed it to the sidelines. F1 isn't the Europe-centric sport it used to be, and the Nürburgring, well, it's become more of a legend than a regular stop. Yet, despite all that, its legacy still slaps. The green hell is forever etched in motorsport history. Fans and drivers alike can't shake the Nürburgring's dark, dangerous and epic vibe. It's still got that high-risk, high-reward energy that'll never die. The track's a living reminder that some places are just too wild to be tamed. So what do you think of this lethal track? Let us know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this wild ride through racing history, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any more epic stories and deep dives. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. There's always more madness on the way.